Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars. SoundCartel. Despite Australia's open spaces, most of us live in the capital cities or expanding regional centres. It means more of a commute for those forced into the outer suburbs, but it's also meant a push for higher density living. From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. Dual occupancy is gaining greater currency than ever before, and it's becoming quite an attractive investment for homeowners, says Nic Don, Managing Director of Odyssey Financial. He details the pros and cons shortly. First, Chris Ashmore asks Nic, what precisely is dual occupancy and how popular has it become really?
What dual occupancy is when there's two or more properties that are actually built on the initial same block of land, and once they're finished, the land is then subdivided into separate lots. Being popular, absolutely, yeah, very, very popular. It's been popular with developers, but also probably most popular with homeowners who might be sitting on, for example, a nice piece of land with their home, and they're sitting on a potential gold mine.
And why would they go and do a dual occupancy?
Well, what you can do as a homeowner, there's a few things you can do. One is, for example, you could build a new home in your backyard and then sell it off and keep the profit or the funds out of that. Two, we've had clients build a new home in their backyard and they keep it and rent it out, and that gives them cash flow. Three, many people are knocking down their current home and their property's big enough and they're rebuilding two brand new homes. They might be selling both or keeping one and renting out the other, or keeping both and renting them both out. So, depending on where they live, how large their property is, what their financial situation is, there is so many different ways that homeowners can benefit.
Is it more common these days simply because, I suppose, there's less stock available and it's a better return on investment?
Yeah, look, that's certainly one reason for it. Another reason is it's becoming a lot easier. Councils are needing to populate their area a lot more than they did 10, 15, 20 years ago because of the cost of keeping the municipality going. Instead of having to increase rates, they're getting more ratepayers in. For example, 20 years ago, you might have had to have a 1,200 square metre block of land to be able to subdivide it. Now in some areas, that's down to 700 or 800 square metres. So you're able to carve up a piece of dirt that's 800 metres into two new homes. So it's becoming very, very popular for a number of reasons, financially, and also a lot of people don't want large gardens anymore.
Well, it all seems too good to be true, but are there any cons, any reasons why you wouldn't do it?
Look, there are a number of reasons, and unless you consult with a specialist or an expert in the area, you could really drop yourself into some hot water. So like anything, like any investment, any potential development, the owner, the developer, the investor really needs to see, the professionals like town planners. They need to do their research. There are a number of different experts in this arena that they can consult with.
So if you want to develop your property and then sell it, do you need to have money set aside?
No, you don't. There are a number of companies in the industry that will actually sit down with a homeowner and they'll do a deal. And they'll basically pre-buy the backyard. They will fund the building and the development totally, and then share in the profits of the home that they've built at the back and pre-sold. Alternatively, if the homeowner does have funds or does have equity within their current home or equity in other properties, they can certainly develop themselves, and instead of sharing the profits, they retain the profits themselves 100%. So there's a few different ways of doing it. You don't necessarily need the funds yourself.
Well, anyone who's thinking of building a dual occupancy, are there any points, Nic, they should consider?
Yeah, most definitely. Probably the first and most important point is to see what their local council is permitting. What is the minimum size of a piece of land? And that seriously does change monthly, quarterly. They need to work out what their end goal is with maybe a financial planner or their accountant or a family friend that's a professional. So their end goal might be, righto, we're actually wanting to downsize our own home, or our own home is in a really bad state of repair. We might be asset rich but cash flow poor. So depending on what their goals are, then it's a case of, righto, let's look at reaching those goals as easily as possible.
Well, while I've got you here, Nic, how's the property market doing at the moment?
Look, the property market is defying gravity. In the last 12 months around Australia, we've had 15-20% capital growth in probably all cities, all states. Regional areas have absolutely boomed because you've got a lot of people wanting to move out of metro. In Victoria, for example, the Mornington Peninsula has absolutely had its biggest increases for decades. In Sydney, the Central Coast, exactly the same thing. There's been a boom of 3-4 bedroom homes compared to apartments and smaller townhouses. But across the board, property markets is really rolling on strongly. I think it has come down to supply and demand. There hasn't been a lot of supply because a lot of people haven't been able to put their properties on the market because of COVID restrictions and real estate restrictions and accessing for open for inspections. There's been demand because people have seen very low interest rates. Home loan rates in the ones and investment loans in the low twos. And there's no reason why interest rates are going to go up anytime soon. So cost of money, demand, supply. 2 mornings ago came out a number of banks are predicting that the capital growth will even continue into 2022 when hopefully COVID is sort of moving behind us. But they're still predicting 7-8% capital growth next year. So I think it's going to continue on.
That was Odyssey Financial Managing Director, Nic Don. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow at BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.